Thank you very much. I'm Fernando Mauro. I'm Aapresid member and I've had my career in banks. Being agronomist and being manager of a bank, accountants wanted to kill me. Now I have a consultant. We are specialized in developing to the have to we provide consultant services to agricultural companies. We consider in Aapresid is this process of digitalization of corporation. What is the role that we have to play as an institution, and what is the role of the agronomist as a consultant that is able to transfer the new technology? We go back to the beginning when we were students in the university and no-till was only starting. There was a change of paradigm. So what is the role that we have to play as Aapresid, as consultants, so that this message can be transmitted and the paradigm can really be changed? We are providing advice, a company called Crossetti and La Rosa, so we sent to them a paper of what are our services, how you can generate a process of credit for the company. Marco Crossetti takes what we advise, he processes these to not do LM, and do LM tells him why he has to take the service. So it is the first time that we see a process, purchasing processes that is allowed by a system of artificial intelligence. So in this context, I will give the floor to our distinguished speaker. Good morning. I want to thank the organization. I want to thank Aapresid for giving me this possibility to share with you what we know and the experience that we have had in agricultural companies in the past few years. Can you hear me? Okay. We will try to generate impact. The idea is to generate an impact. Many of you relate transformation, digital transformation to technology, but we will speak about a cultural transformation within the companies. I will expand on that. To start to generate this exchange and to start talking, the first question is, what technology do you use in your company that you didn't 10 years ago? Think for a moment, for a minute, how did you incorporate technology 10 years ago? Probably you had a managed system, an accounting management systems. Now you have a different. Probably in the past you didn't have an application that tells you the weight or the numbers or something related to the company, and today you have those apps. Today we have apps to manage data and information. We have drones with satellite platforms. We are flaggers. We have flaggers, machines with sensors, automatic regulation systems. And we also have virtual platform and apps that allows us to process those management data, market data, climate data to provide the indicators and improve decision making. The digital transformation makes more sense in the Milei era, and I will expand on this. You know that throughout history, different catalysts have occurred, they accelerate, they speed up process, the things that would happen all the same, but as a result of this event, the process is accelerated. We experienced this with the pandemics. Before pandemics, wasn't there virtuality? Yes, it existed, but it was during the pandemics that it worked as a catalyst of the process that speeded up the process of virtuality in companies. What we're going to see is that the economic model presented by Millet will be the catalyst for the digital transformation in agricultural companies. Please expand on that, Hernán. I will. They scolded me. They told me that I had to speak closer to the mic. In this new model, we're going to speed up the time of this transformation, the timing. This model will propose the need for competitiveness and the professionalization of companies. This model will allow us to be more efficient, more effective of what we are already. But commercial efficiency, but I can produce correctly, but if I'm not a good seller, I will lose productivity. Financing effectiveness or efficiency, but also asset and equity efficiency. So there is a condition of efficiency that will be there because I reduced profitabilities. When a country becomes normal, profitability also becomes normal. There is a new model and there are new rules of the game. If you will have a macroeconomic stabilization, revenue will go down. And this has to do with we have to increase something because our revenue is low. So sometimes profitability is the same, but the volume, we don't eat profitability, we eat pesos. I have to increase that value in absolute terms. An economic opening with less regulation in the market. Also, we are going to have a capital attraction and more investment. So I won't be able to manage the company as I feel like. I will have to account for what I do. And the processes and the information within my company will help me to account for what I do and receive a capital from third parties and be able to manage my company. There's also a generational change. I will refer to this more in depth later on. And we are going to have new leaderships. We have the integration of global chains at the requirement for traceability. We will require more information, more detail, and we need to understand where are we coming from, because there is a need to change the chip. What did we know in the previous model, in the Kirchner model, with this idea that the state has to be present, the public expenditure increased, this represented a fiscal deficit, so more money was emitted, and this caused inflation. The real salary dropped down, consumption went down, growth of the country went down, and this required increase in taxes to be able to support this situation. What do we know in agricultural companies? We know that this model will give us negative financing tax. So the grower take subsidized and low credits. They have a stock of goods, and so they prefer to stock goods and not to sell, because tomorrow things will be more expensive. If I have some surplus, I can buy dollars and I wait for a devaluation to occur. And with this model, I were able to persist. And many growers says there's much uncertainty. I cannot invest. Why you speak about uncertainty? There are two things that will occur unavoidably in this model: inflation and devaluation. This model, we are not longer in this model. This model is over, because with this issue of efficient use of energy, we try to standardize our production. We try to do a sort of copy-paste every year so that things remain the same or similar. This won't happen in this model. Those who got stuck with that chip will have to recycle and will require a new model with new characteristics and new features in our company. We need to know that interest rates will be positive, as in the rest of the world. There is a cost for debt, for becoming in debt. Now the cost won't only be positive, but the profitability that we are sustaining won't cover the cost. Another thing has to do with what I was mentioning before, this need to be efficient. I also need to learn that we sell when it is convenient that we sell. In the past, we learned that I have to sell because I have some expenditures, and so I reduce my stock. Now things are different because it is more complex, requirements are different. When the price shows profit, you will have to sell, and sometimes you will have to assume loss. We are used that accumulating stock is okay. So 2 years ago, we had the result of one growing year or 2 seasons. We had them stock. But now, having so much stock will be synonymous of inefficiency. What happens with the silo bag? No, I have to store the soybean because in 2 months I will have to pay my rental, and so I sell the soy only then. And what about the corn? I store the corn for the cows to eat it in 2 or 3 months' time. So we are used to that, and we think that this is normal, and we don't have to think in the assumptions that trigger our decisions. No, there's no good news here. We will have to learn to have the money movement. To have the money stored will be synonymous of inefficiency. You will have to you will have to remain liquid. Inflation and dollar won't be the only drivers. So the dollar is up 50 pesos, and this is a huge, great news. No, we are in a flotation system. That was something valid for the old model. Now it's not only 2 variables, dollar and inflation. There are other variables that we have to consider, but we are sort of stuck with the old model.
What do I mean? I would like to tell you that the world and agriculture activities in Argentina are getting more complex. Therefore, we will need the digital transformation in order to be able to understand that information. So what is digital transformation? I haven't defined it yet. I'm going to define or tell you what it is not, but what some people think it is. Digital transformation is not doing the same thing I'm doing, but in the digital world. It's not having a website. It's not creating an Instagram handle, having a CRM system. It's not digitalizing documents. It's not buying an accounting system or an app. No, those are the technologies that help us and are part of the digital transformation. Well, you told us, everybody told us what it is not. Now, please tell us, Hernán, what digital transformation is. It is rethinking the business and the company from the technology point of view. So digital transformation, a cultural and strategic change to rethink the way we operate, make decisions, and create values, improving competitiveness and efficiency using technology. So if I want to go through digital transformation process in my company, it's not enough to say, well, I'm going to hire an IT guy and that's it. No. If I hire an expert, it may be an AI coordinator, an IT guy, whatever. What I must do is to get that person to work in order to coordinate the activity of all areas of the company. Digital transformation oils or gets all sections and departments of the company to work together. So what digital transformation does is, well, it creates bridges among the islands of knowledge present in a company. In some companies, large-sized or small, middle-sized companies, there are several departments that compete or don't get on well with one another because maybe accounting or the purchase department is not happy with accounting because accounting doesn't release the payments, etc. Those people standing in the back, well, there are some empty seats here in the front. Now, is the technology available? Yes, we have robotics, simulations, comprehensive systems using neural networks. We have the Internet of Things, cybersecurity, cloud computing, augmented reality, big data, and the star today, which is AI. These are technologies. Digital transformation must use technologies, yes, but technologies are a mean to an end. Now, I'm going to describe the cases of two companies. This is a company from Peru, which went through a digital transformation, a cultural one, working with their staff. And this is the way it was done. They developed a software, the one in the middle, which gathers all the information of all the apps the company is using. So you don't have to go into each app to get the information, but the system in the center gathers all the information and shows the information in a scorecard. Another company in Bolívar did something similar. So digital transformation is just merging all apps. No, that's not it. No, it is related to a cultural change. It means communicating to the staff how they should work to become a company, one company. It is necessary to identify processes and to document them so as to take into account requirements in the labor market today. The younger generations, the turnover at their jobs is much faster. Today you hire a young person and that person will stay with the company for 2 or 3 years, and you have to get the company ready, not to have the person working for the company for 15 years, but the company must be ready for 2 or 3 years turnover rate. So everything has to be systematized so that the person knows its role, its job description, everything. So the knowledge is not in the people themselves, but it stays with the company. It is in the company. These technologies are an opportunity for the agricultural sector, because it's one of the sectors worldwide which is lagging behind the most from the point of view of technology adoption. But technology helps to, currently there is a more democratic access. Small farming companies may have the same software as a large international company. A small company may use the same app as a company producing 10 or 15 more times than you do. That's not where you have to compete. There is no differentiation there. I may have the same mobile Bill Gates has. I may have the same mobile Jeff Bezos has. This is not a... the difference is not there. The difference lies in the implementation and what I do with the technology. And therefore, we have another discussion, especially for labor. Is technology a threat? Will the technology do what I am doing today? Well, I would say that technology doesn't compete, or it's not a substitution for staff, but it will be a substitution for the staff that is not using technology. I can see this in Tenkelauken at some companies boast about having a person in charge who has been there with the company for 35 years, as if this was very valuable. And it's not the case always. It is good for the company, yes, because it shows there is commitment, stability, but nowadays, next to this person working, we have a young person digitalizing the information and filling in forms which the older person who has been with the company for 35 years cannot do because he doesn't know how, because he gets stressed, etc. So now technology is being added to what this first human resource was doing, because new skills are required today. Digital transformation will be implemented naturally and in an organic fashion in agricultural enterprises. The young people who are not part of the labor market yet, but who will join it in the future, will feel technology as something natural. We have to learn about technology. For young people, it will be part of them already. So when these young people join the labor market, they will say, but, well, we could do this using this technology or that technology, and for them it will be natural. They will be born with technology in their hands. They will be naturals. It's important that we prepare our organizations for the younger generations. Sometimes people tell me, well, Google is an innovative company, so is Apple. And I tell them, no, Google is not an innovative company. Neither is Apple, nor Facebook, nor Meta. Come on, why not? Because companies don't innovate. The ones who innovate are the people working for those companies. What the company does is creating the scenario, the framework for innovation to appear. But innovation is something people do, not companies do. Not companies, sorry, I don't want to bore you because you must have seen this several times already. I don't want to label. I don't like labeling people, but I understand that there are certain characteristics, habits, and values that you may apply to different generations. I'm not going to talk about baby boomers and the Y generation. I'm going to talk about Generation X, millennials, and centennials who are joining the labor market. Let's talk about millennials and centennials. Millennials were began to ask for flexibility, diversity, creativity, social interests, and they were caring for the environment. This generation was raised under the umbrella of sustainability, traceability, all those requirements which have been mentioned, which started being mentioned 10 years ago. Well, this is for millennials. Centennials look for technology, individuality, and inclusion. And there is a generation which hasn't joined the labor market yet, which will be the one driving digital transformation, the Alpha generation. Alpha generation is technology prone. They are globally connected. They are very influenced by AI and technology developments. This is the generation that will drive digital transformation in companies or organizations. Let's talk about the two generations we already have in the labor market today, millennials and centennials. Millennials try to find purpose and meaning in their jobs. And it is the responsibility of the owners and the managers to create something meaningful for them. They are interested in cooperation and flexibility, and they expect to get continuous feedback and to grow continuously. The centennials share some habits and values, but they are actually looking for a good working environment. In the past, shouting to one person when he made a mistake was okay. This is not okay nowadays. If you shout to one person and that person as soon as possible will leave the company, maybe they cannot do it today, but they will do it as soon as possible because they don't work in such an environment. That's only related to how you work, how you deal with them, and it's also related to the place where they work, their working conditions, because working in a dark place where there's no light in downtown, well, they won't like it. They'd rather move to go to work for a company that has offices in the suburbs where you can see the sun, where the decoration is modern. This is very important for the new generation. Sometimes the company says, well, I will pay them a higher salary and that's it. But young people sometimes look for different things. They really value their time. At 6 p.m. they want to leave. They have completed their working hours. I work with a large company in Trenquelauquen, and I had to be involved in the process because the production manager, when he would visit the company and he went back to his office at 5:45, the production manager wanted to get the information of what he had seen in the field. And when I talked to the agronomist, he told me, at 6 p.m. I want to leave. That's a communication issue, which was not expressed in words. The agronomist was not at ease with this, so we set up a process where working conditions were described. If I send you a message after working hours, you don't have to answer. I just want to let you know that I am thinking about this, but you may answer on the following day. I cannot expect you to answer any messages after the working hours. So these are changes in behavior that are part of the digital transformation. Regarding this issue of valuing their time, an entrepreneur from Bodecan came to see me and he told me, Hernán, an employee told me I'm traveling to Europe. He didn't ask me whether it was okay for me. And the entrepreneur wanted to feel that somehow he was being asked for permission. No, the employee was just telling him he was traveling to Europe. So it was a different way of looking at this. If somebody arrives late, the older people, believe there's no commitment here. No, they also have commitment, but they have a commitment vis-a-vis something else. So there usually are entrepreneurs, they feel they are the owners, they want to have decision-making power in their area of responsibility. And although it is clear that there is a business agreement, in the case of this generation, we have to be careful. We have to ask them for things. We cannot tell them to do something. We would rather we should say, well, let's see if you could do this afternoon. It's like asking them to do something as a favor. But we have to create this new culture. They are very technology prone. They love technology. And this is my question to you. When we talk about staff, which is the main challenge faced by agricultural companies, looking at the people that work for the company, which is the main challenge you face? Nobody wants to live in the farms, in the farming area. Generational change. Please, those who are in the back, shout, because I cannot see you in the back because of the lighting.
There's more to it. One of the main challenges that we have identified has to do with find and retain talent in a scarcity environment. And expectations are higher related to three things. Flexibility. In fact, one of the things that we are managing in our consultants company has to do with the fact that employees don't want to work half a day on Saturdays. They prefer to work one more hour on weekdays and not to go to work on Saturday. Professional development and a positive working environment. You are all taking pictures. I can pass the presentation to you. This has been recorded. So, as owners, company owners, what makes a company attractive? For you, what makes a company attractive? If I want my company to be attractive, what is it for you that makes a company attractive or to be innovative? Okay, what else? That enables personal development, a good working environment. Anything else? Has to be profitable, excellent. Competitive, yes, is that and much more. And probably each of you and each question that is asked, this question has a different perception of what makes a company attractive. But the powerful question is what I have to do for my company to be attractive to the 21st century generation. Attractive for whom? Attractive for the family, for the succession, for my children, so that my children want to continue working in my company. Attractive for employees, so that employees want to stay in the company and to become better in the company. But also attractive for customers, because the consumption habits have been modified in the past, changed in the past years. There is a trend towards organic, towards environmental protection, and this is valued by the customers. Sometimes they are not always willing to pay for that, but they value that. We'll share some elements based on my own experience that help reduce the generational gap. There are many other things that don't help at all to reduce this gap, but some of these factors help reduce it. One is understanding communication models and channels of the communication of the generation I'm talking about. When I'm talking about this generation, I'm talking from the point of view of my channels and my models. But if I want to have an impact, I have to think in terms of the communication models and channels of that generation. If I talk to, I want to impact on my child, on my son or on my daughter, it's not enough to speak 5 minutes to them as I do with my wife. I need to send audio messages of 15 minutes each. And I will have to adapt to their needs so I can generate or I can impact the way I want to impact. And it implies breaking or doing away with many paradigms and phrases. When the cat is no, it's not there, the mice dance, you have to look at your cattle so that the cattle, well, there are many sayings that that belong to our generation, but we have to adapt the communication. You can no longer email this new generation. But I want them to send emails, but you have to agree with them, because if you didn't agree on that and they don't use emails to communicate. If you send me an email, I will answer back when I have time. But if you send me a WhatsApp message, I will answer right away. So we have to agree on the communication models and channels. Also, we have to agree on the language. This new generation, the centennials, they value authenticity. We have to involve them in the process, collaboration, feedback, ownership. There is a case in Trenquelaucan, a company that distributes pet food. The son was trying to join the company, or little by little to become the manager. And at the end of the year, the factories and the distributors stop delivering products because they start with a holiday. And he wanted, the owner of this company knew that this would happen, but he didn't tell his child that this, or his son, because he wanted his son to make the mistake. And so he didn't tell it, because if he told us that if he made the mistake, he would have told his son, "Oh, I told you." So in this case, we let them make the decisions. It's not me that have to give the answers. It's you that have to make decisions. Okay, you decide whether you want to sell something or not, and then I can give you my feedback and we agree on what to do in the end, but let them take the decisions on their own. To acknowledge differences or recognize differences, but not to become stereotypes. This generation claims for individuality, because you said, "Oh, in my old days, I used to do this thing." And we say, "Oh, young people don't learn anything." They do learn, but they learn different things. Probably your father or your mother thought the same about you, that you didn't learn, you didn't know how to learn, but the possibilities are different and we have to adapt to new situations. Let us reflect together on this. The question that I left, I'm building a company that will be attractive for new generations. And when I talk about new or next generations, I refer to family, employees, and customers. They are the ones who in the future will be related to the company. The challenge is to build a company that includes and inspires the new generations. And digital transformation is a way to reach that goal. Thank you very much. Are there any questions? The first question It's a hard question. A hard question. When we were making up the presentation under the themes of Congress, and we started to think of on this topic, we thought that only half of the room would be full. But I think that this is an attractive topic. That's why the room is full. It's not because I'm here. It's because of the topic, because of the theme. Generational change or living together with a new generation. What are the features that an agronomist needs to have in order to work in a company with different generations and with many decisions? Excellent questions. I would need 1 more hour to answer that questions. Through time, there has been a transformation in competencies and requirements. In the mid-90s, we talked about this concept of boss. In the mid-90s, this concept was replaced by the concept of leader. And the leader in the past 25 years has been present as a concept. I don't want a boss. I need a leader. And with the pandemics, we went back to the concept of boss, but not a boss that manages happiness, because we need that people need to fill a gap. And now something that is working in company is the facilitator that helps things to happen. This person is aware of the values, different values, and this person coordinates that talents and that value. This will be valid in the next few years. I don't know whether they didn't see the QR or you were very clear, because that was the only questions. You can raise your hand and ask the questions. I will repeat your question aloud. No, repetir. I have to repeat the question. I almost forget. How can we do so that the founders of the company does not feel that they are expelled, that they are repelled, or that they are replaced? The first thing has to do with the fact that one needed to accept the adaptation and the need to change. If we don't have that, nothing will make change. I call this a framework agreement. It's not a protocol. It's a framework agreement to support family processes. Sometimes I had to interview company owners that want to start a process of family company. Let's have our meetings and then let's see what I decide. That's no process. If you want to see the result, and if you like the result, then you will start the process. This is no process whatsoever. So you won't have a process. I mean, I tell you, I exchange what I have in my pocket for your wallet. You will say no because you give a high value to your wallet, or because you don't know how much I have in my pocket. If I tell you that I have $10,000 in my pocket, you probably will accept. So the important thing is to know what the situation is, and only then we are able to accept it, and then we will be able to start our process. We will need to understand that there are people that do things differently, probably not in the same way you do it or in the same way you want them to do it, and probably they might make a mistake. If you are able to accept that, you will facilitate the transformation process in your company, the generational transformation or the digital transformation. If you want to continue to think that the company grow around yourself, and you want this to continue, and you don't want to open up your wallet, So you will continue with the same problems. People that wanted to become the owner of the company. The first owner is 80 years old, the second owner is 60 years old, and the owner who's 60 years old cannot hand over the management of the company to the 40-year-old son. Probably this won't work. Probably I have to change my role of shareholder, role of a director, not participating in the management itself. But this process has to be supported. It's not that I leave, I hand it over to somebody else, and okay, you do your own work. No, you need some kind of mentorship process, sometimes sort of induction process or training process. So for the old founder not to feel excluded, he needs or she needs to participate in the design of the process. If the process is a decision made by the son, probably he won't feel comfortable. If this process is something that is agreed by consensus, things will be differently. Thank you for your question.
Gracias. No, un problema recurrente.
An issue that we find over and over again, contractors tell us what one person was doing in the past, now it's 3 people we need to do the same thing when you cannot include that cost in your equation. Well, this is not easy. What is happening in agricultural companies and what will happen, and this is a trend, is that 2 years ago you would say, well, I need somebody to sweep the floor, well, hire somebody so that he will do that, so that he will do this, because their salaries in dollar terms were lower. But now costs are increasing. There is a process we went through in a large company. We look at the costs structure and we started to do away with what is unnecessary, what processes could be improved to improve efficiency. And that company at some point in time had 7 vans driving back and forth to get costs and buying spares. So we improved the process. We improved the process very much. So half an hour before the office was closed, the air conditioner went off and the water fountain was disconnected. What is the impact of this on cost? It doesn't have an impact on cost. The idea is to create a culture of paying attention to costs, because now this was different. In the past, when you had to do something, you would hire something. And what is happening now, and what will happen soon, is that you will have fewer people on payroll, but they will be more qualified or skilled. What 3 people would do in the past, nowadays you only need 2 people or 1 person, but that person will be more skilled. There will be a change. I don't want to scare you, but there will be a change in the model. So, where there will be a capital concentration and a concentration of resources too. Well, I could talk about this for hours, but it's late already. Hernán, just like my friend Salvador Stefan, I would say, don't call him an idol, but let's give him a round of applause. So that I'd like to take a picture with the audience. So let's give a round of applause to the 2 panelists. Digital transformation. Is it something we can choose to do, or is it a must? Thank you for attending this